Hello everyone, I am here today to walk you through some starter tools for Photopea. I want to go ahead and explain how we start a new project and how to copy paste images into Photopea, and then I'll be going over some basic select tools. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to photopea.com. It's Photopea, like the vegetable.com. Once you arrive here, you will click New Project and then go under the print section. And at the very bottom on the left-hand side, there is the letter. Okay, that will autofill. The only thing you need to do is put in the project name. So I'm just going to call this one practice for right now. Anything you name your file, that's how it will save onto your computer. So right now, if I was to save it, it would be called practice.psd. So I'm going to go ahead and click create once I'm done. And here you have your blank canvas. So the first thing I'm going to go over is just how to add some basic images to the canvas. And I'm going to go to Google. A couple things you might want to know is that if you're looking for an image that has a transparency behind it, meaning there's no box around it, you might want to type in that object space PNG. So for example, I would type in SpongeBob PNG if I wanted to look for a SpongeBob picture. Usually you can find some authentic like PNGs. Sometimes they look like they're going to be, but they're not. And in a video later down the road, I'm going to show you how to get rid of the box around it if you cannot find one. So usually if I just type in SpongeBob, the first one here is, I know, a PNG because I've used it all day. So to copy this image, I'm going to either take two fingers and lightly tap on my keypad like this at the same time, not push, just tap, or you can use the right click and copy the image. Once you get back over to Photopea, you're going to hit Control V as in Victor, and that's going to go ahead and paste your image. If you don't have these options here, like I do, to go ahead and stretch it and make it bigger, you can click on your pointer tool, make sure you're clicked on your pointer tool, and come up here to Transform Controls. Transform Controls is going to be what puts the box around those images that allow you to stretch it and things like that. I always tell the students to make sure you go back to your pointer tool no matter what. It's like your home tool. The next, I'm going to look for Gary from SpongeBob because, again, I know that this first image here is a PNG because I've just been using it all day. So I'm going to go ahead and copy him as well, and I'm going to paste him over here. Same thing, just going to have him resized a little bit. Okay. So the first thing I want you to be aware of is your layer bar. Your layer bar here is basically all of the ingredients to my project. So right now you'll see I have just a plain white background. Layer 1 is SpongeBob and layer 2 is going to be Gary. I'm going to double click on this really quick and I'm going to name this SpongeBob and then name this one Gary, because what tends to happen is we'll get more and more layers, and then as time goes on, it gets really confusing. If they're just called layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, it gets really, really confusing, and those thumbnails are so small, it's hard to see what's on them, so just naming them is really good practice for keeping things organized. Another thing I want you to recognize is the layers and the order that the layers are in. So right now the background's all the way at the bottom, which means the background is then in the back of the photo. So if I moved this layer up to the top of the layer bar, you'll see that now it's in front. So now I just moved that white sheet into the front, in front of Gary and SpongeBob. So that's why I like it to be on the bottom. So right now you'll see Gary is on top of SpongeBob. So over here, you can see that Gary is over SpongeBob. So if you wanted to switch that for any reason, you could just drag and drop and move the layer around. And now you'll see that SpongeBob is in front of Gary. So the layer order really, really is important when you are trying to layer things a certain way on your actual canvas. So they need to be in a specific order in the layer bar as well. The next thing I want to show you is Currently, I have it set up to where if I want to switch layers, I have to come over here and click. So like if I wanted to go back to SpongeBob and work on SpongeBob, I have to come over here and click on the SpongeBob layer. You have to be clicked on that layer, or that layer has to be highlighted to whichever one you're trying to work on. So for example, if I wanted to erase, part of SpongeBob's eye or something, I have to make sure I'm on the SpongeBob layer, and then I can do that. You can turn on the auto select option, which is up here. That what that does is allow you to kind of go in between without having to go back to your layer bar. So if I wanted to work on, if I turn that on and I wanted to work on, let's say Gary, I could just click on Gary. If I wanted to work back on SpongeBob, I could just click back on SpongeBob. So it gives me a little bit more freedom as far as like, just staying on the page and not having to come all the way back over here to click between the layer bars, which I can still do. So whether you turn it on or off is up to you. I usually have it turned off because sometimes it'll end up clicking things that I don't want it to on accident if I have a lot of things on my canvas. So I turn it on and make myself manually come over here and click it on. So that's up to you. That's a total personal preference. Something else you'll notice on the layer bar is the opacity meter here, and that can be turned up or down. If you notice, what it does is it just kind of makes your character more see-through, I guess, more transparent. So you can go ahead and use that if you need it for any reason. This here is your history bar. So your history bar is going to allow you to kind of step backwards if there are things that you want to undo. A quick command for that is Control Z, as in zebra. Control Z will do the same thing as you clicking like this. You could just hit Control Z and it'll just jump back. The alternative to that, or the opposite of that, is Control Shift Z, and that basically will bump you forward. So we're going to learn some quick commands because it makes it a little bit easier when you're working. You don't have to go click around so much. You just can use your keys to do some of these things a little bit quicker. So again, Control Z as in zebra is undo. Control Shift Z is redo. I'm going to give you guys a little cheat sheet eventually too, so don't worry too much about that. The first set of tools that I'm going to go ahead and show you are the select tools. They are all super similar, okay? Very, very similar, and we're going to talk about those in the next video. Thanks for sticking around, and hopefully I helped you out.